Hey guys, welcome to Tyson's Fitness Tips Podcast. If you want to lose weight, increase your energy, improve your health and fitness, and look your best, then you have come to the right place. My name is Tyson Brown. I'm a personal trainer, and my job is to help you transform your body by sharing with you the most up-to-date information on health and fitness. I'm going to distill it all down for you into bite-sized actionable steps that you can take immediately to see results quickly. Now, every Tuesday and Thursday, you can expect a brand new episode, which will be a mixture of interviews with top experts from around the world in the fitness space, and as well as solo episodes from myself, sharing with you exactly what action steps you need to take to transform your health, your body, and your life. Also, don't forget to listen all the way to the end of the show, because in the middle, I'm going to share with you a time-saving tip, and it might just be a game changer. I know you're short on time, and this one can save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. So, let's get into the show. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Tyson's Fitness Tips Podcast. Now, you've heard me talking a lot recently about intermittent fasting and why I'm such a big advocate of it. Obviously, I've been doing it for the last 6 years now, and I wanted to bring somebody else on who's an expert in this, and he actually has a little bit of a different take on it. So, I always advocate the intermittent fasting, doing a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour in an 8-hour eating window, but Ori takes things to the next extreme. So my special guest today is Ori Hofmekler. He's an author, he's an inventor, he owns Defense Nutrition. He has got a lot of background behind him, and I thought this would be an awesome guy to come and interview and to kind of pick his brains. So Ori, I really appreciate you coming on today, and thanks for being here. How have you been so far today?
Very well. How are you doing? Tyson, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. So, Ori, I brought you on here because you have a different perspective on fasting, and I first found out about you when I read the Warrior Diet book, and so I would love to be able to actually start on that and talk about, what exactly is the Warrior Diet, and why did you write that book?
The Warrior Diet was written based on my personal experience. I can say clearly that the Warrior Diet was the first ever to introduce the concept of intermittent fasting in practice to the public. Before the Warrior Diet, there was no intermittent fasting. Nobody followed this diet. In fact, at that time when I was writing the book, skipping meals, especially skipping breakfast and lunch, was considered dietary blasphemy. So when I wrote the Warrior Diet, not only that I personally experienced during my military service with this diet, which benefited me tremendously during time under physical and even mental stress, I later on learned that this diet was followed by some of the most notable, perhaps classical, warrior societies in the history, particularly the ancient Greek, the Spartan, and the Romans. So the way that has a book, it's called Lesson from History, that really show you the science and history behind the Warrior Diet. The purpose of the diet is one main meal per day. But what's special about my program that is it's very flexible. It's clearly designed to allow you to avoid chronic stress and custom-made the intermittent fasting to fit your specific needs. Hello?
I'm listening.
Are you still there?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, you said this diet was based around obviously people like the Spartans and the Greeks and how they used to do it, and it's more of a condensed eating window. Is that correct?
It's more based on the biological phenomena which scientists today recognize that species especially mammalian species, evolved to better survive on certain kind of feeding cycle rather than constant feeding. 2 years after the warrior diet was written, studies were done by the NIH conducted by Professor Mark Mattson, and they found when they put mice and rats on a diet on a feeding cycle similar to the warrior diet, there was an extension of almost 50% of lifespan. The mice became leaner, not only leaner and healthier, when they were injected in toxin that mimic age-related brain diseases like Parkinson and Alzheimer. The mice managed to resist the toxicity, resist brain diseases. This was outstanding discovery. It did boost my vision, which wasn't completely scientifically proven at that time. And I believe that BC contacted me at that time several times. It was really a world news. That's what gave the warrior diet the first boost. Again, when I wrote the diet, I got complete resistance by nutrition and medical authority for the idea that skipping breakfast and lunch is a good thing, and breakfast is actually the typical breakfast is the worst meal of the day.
It's actually, it's funny you say that because, going against the conventional wisdom and everyone was telling you you're wrong and you're being laughed at and you kind of knew different. Now that there's more and more research coming out about how good intermittent fasting is for not only obviously fat loss, but for longevity reasons, cell autophagy, brain-derived neurotropic factor. There are so many more benefits coming out, and it just goes to show.
There's no. And I know that we're supposed to talk about it later, but this is a conversation. My new book, The 7 Principles of Stress, go far and beyond. It's a sort of contradict what I just said. It's go far and beyond that to prove that when you have the skill to properly stress your body, it is possible to double lifespan. It is possible to eliminate some of the worst modern man disease, including cancer. We can talk about it later, but I'm telling you, it started with the warrior diet. The idea that nutritional stress and physical stress can help improve human biological fitness, and in all aspects, including those that you just mentioned. So we can definitely discuss other stressors.
Yeah, I would love to actually dive into that because you said physical and nutritional stress, and a lot of people think that stress is a bad thing, which there are certain types of stress that are bad, but our body obviously needs to be put against good stress too, which is correct. And so when you talk about that, what do you mean by physical and nutritional stress in the body?
First, those who believe that stress is bad are partly right. Stress can kill you, but paradoxically, researchers already discovered that the same stress that can kill you can heal you if you just know how to take advantage of it. And this is incredible. Fasting can kill you if it turns into starvation. But fasting, the science behind fasting and life extension is incredible. In fact, calorie restriction and intermittent fasting have been shown to extend life of all organisms to humans. But the same apply to heavy metal, MSG, and many other toxins that we constantly try to, and radiation. Many toxins that we try to avoid. If you just knowledge of that, we can become increasingly resilient to them, with a bonus of becoming also extremely resilient to the aging process. Hence, with the right regimen and the right application of stress, physical and nutritional, I believe strongly that we can not only extend life, but gain a quality of life that go far beyond conventional thinking.
So what I hear you saying is that when we apply these physical and nutritional stresses and we start to adapt to them, we're actually able to increase our quality and the quantity of life, like increase our lifespan, but also just in general having a better quality of life by doing these, like by putting these stresses on our body. And when you say things like physical stress, you mean obviously exercise, and nutritional stress is and I'm going to say here, like fasting, because we're putting that body under the stress of not having access to food. Is that what you're saying?
Nutritional stress by science mean refer to lack of energy, lack of food energy,
okay,
lack of calories. That means when you are in a situation when food scarcity is a major factor and you don't have enough calorie from food, your body get a sign that you're under nutritional stress, hence energy deficit, and your body need to compensate for that lack of energy. Not only your body, every organism on that planet evolved to respond to lack of energy, to energy deficit. Look, Tyson, we're trained to believe that energy is critical, and it's true. Without energy, there is no life. What most people don't understand, that we don't need excess energy to better survive. We are not machine. In machine, when the more fuel they put, the longer the vehicle drive. Not so with biological system. They evolve in a very sophisticated way to resist, to adapt to lack of energy and resist starvation or even death by lack of energy. And as they evolve to do that, the energy deficit, the nutritional stress trigger genes and pathways that transform your body not only to be resilient to hunger, but be capable of extending life. The aging process is literally blocked. Furthermore, there is evidence, Tyson, that our early food chain was full of nutrients that are no longer part of our diet, but nutrients that mimic the effect of fasting and exercise on your body. I've been doing some research product, we call it SAF, stress activated food. This research has been already established on evidence that when certain kind of plant food species, for instance, are grown widely or under stress, they produce nutrients that extend the organism, the plant life. But when an animal or a human consume this nutrient, they yield virtually the same benefit on the consumer. There are nutrients that really inhibit a mechanism that build cancer. There are nutrients that have shown not only to be toxic to cancers, but prevent brain damage or brain aging. There are nutrients that trigger genes that shift your body to burn fat rather than store fat, that redesign your body to live longer. Unfortunately, this nutrient, or some of the most important part of this nutrient, group of these nutrients, are no longer part of our diet. They appear in pits and peels and bark and rhizomes on plants that we no longer eat. In fact, we regard it as nutritional waste. So it took me several years to try to source some of these nutrients and put them together in an attempt to bring them back to the diet. It created a small line, it's called SAF nutrient, and we got amazing result with this. I'm not going to talk too much about it. More details people can find on my Facebook and in my book, The 7 Principles of Stress. But the point is, it seems that we and other organisms are designed for stress. It's not that it's okay. It's not that it's better for us to be under stress. It's essential for us. We have no idea yet. You, not even me, and even scientists today admit we have no idea how far can we extend our life. I believe far beyond what people think. However, we live today in a world that does not encourage such concept. We live in a world that the biggest money is coming from indulgence and feeding of indulgent food. Imagine yourself, I'm sure Australia is better than the US, maybe not. You go into a supermarket and you see no longer the sugary treat, the morning cereal, the render meat, the bad combination, it's free, sugar, fat, no longer. Imagine how much damage it will create to the big player in the industry.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because you said our body is designed to be able to put under stress, and obviously going certain times without food and going for physical stress like doing exercise, our body is designed to do that. But when you speak about the reason we have an abundance and access to all this food where we're not going to be out of that nutritional stress, and it's not because breakfast is the most important meal of the day or anything like that. It's because at the end of the day, we're putting money into the big brands. We're giving, if they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day and they trick us to thinking that, we're going to buy the cereal, we're going to buy lunch, or we're just going to put money in their pockets, even though it's not the best thing for us. And it's been false for so many years that we think that we have to eat breakfast or we have to eat lunch just because we've been tricked by the marketing. When we look back at, even if we look back, you talk about the Spartans and the Greek, and even just in ancestral days, we weren't designed to be eating all the time. We aren't like those constant spikes in blood sugar, all those type of things. And this is what you're talking about, where you're saying being put under that nutritional stress and not eating for a certain period of time, and then the calorie restriction can actually help you improve your life, first of all, increase your quality of life, but more importantly, it's not living in that abundance of food all the time that you've been speaking about. And it just goes back to how our ancestors would have eaten. They don't have access to food all the time.
That's very correct. But Tyson, you already know, I'm sure you know, that this situation is very tricky. First, neither you and me can destroy this industry so quickly. Meanwhile, people are living, people need help. I get thousands of emails from people who ask for help because of this and that, and usually it has to do with the diet. Diet is like 99% of the problem. But on the other hand, people can eat it, and good people can easily fall to the trap of chronic stress. For instance, some people believe that you should fast 2 to 3 days and then overeat for the whole day and then start again, or start 2 days fasting, and everybody come with their own theory. 2 days fasting, 3 days fasting, 1 week fasting, 2 weeks not fasting. Listen, it doesn't work this way. This is not about calculation, mathematics. We are not accountants. There is a circadian clock that, even though not precise, you still work on the 24 hours per day. And anything that can exceed the 24 hours per day could disrupt our ability to respond to stress. there is massive evidence that when you prolong even a good stress, even exercise, if you exercise 2 to 3 hours a day, you can cause serious damage. Overtraining is not just a word. It can cause serious collapse of the metabolic system, serious decline of your hormones, adrenal fatigue, and related issues. And the same with nutritional stress. You do not want to chronically or to prolong the fasting for too long. That's why I believe in 1 meal per day. Like everything that we do per day, sleep and we walk and we can calculate and everything go in a cycle, and for sure the sun will rise tomorrow, and for sure there will be darkness today, including in Australia, and we evolve for this cycle. So why taking our diet out of this cycle? It doesn't make sense at all. The warrior diet was the first one to introduce intermittent fasting. It was also the first one to introduce the 1 main meal per day. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's 12 hours, 16-hour fasting, or 18-hour fasting. 1 main meal per day. If you want to have small snacks of fruit or light protein as an athlete, if you have an access to soft stress-activated nutrient that mimic the effect of fasting, go and do it. Why do I recommend berries during the day? Because berries, green tea, and coffee, all of them recommended by the warrior diet, allowed during the day, contain nutrient, mostly polyphenols, tannins, that reduce, not elevate, but reduce postprandial blood sugar and blood lipid after the meal. That means when you eat blueberries or you drink green tea or raspberries, blood sugar may not rise, which perfectly fit and complement the fasting. In fact, it may even go down. There is a massive research that was done on great pommes. People who ate great pommes with a meal did not experience elevation of blood sugar after the meal. It's called postprandial. And listen, Tyson, the elevation of blood sugar and blood lipid after meal is the number one factor responsible to the ever-growing epidemic of obesity and diabetes in modern men's societies. Consider people who eat frequent meals. Every time that they eat, there is elevation of blood sugar, spike of insulin, the elevation of blood lipid. When you take it 6 meals per day, it causes huge collateral damage. It ages the body. This is why we suffer. So nutrients of food can prevent the elevation of blood sugar. Actually, it may even reduce it. Are extremely helpful and complementary for intermittent fasting. I personally believe that a smart intermittent fasting do not has to be completely on water fasting. There's nothing wrong with water fasting.
Yep.
But smartly designed with nutrient that you can still consume while fasting. They will complement the fasting, but guess what, Tyson? They prevent you from ever falling to the trap of chronic stress. You do not want to be in a situation of chronic. I explained it clearly in my book, The 7 Principles of Stress, how damaging it can be to your body. You're just practically losing your defenses.
Okay, so the big thing that I hear you talk about here is that, yes, we are designed for stress, but we need to make sure it's not a chronic, prolonged periods of stress like you talked about. I mean, we talk about intermittent fasting, which means you fast for a certain period of time, but then you have to break that fast. You don't want to go on the 2 days, the 3 days, the 4-day fast, because we are in line with circadian rhythms, and we go off a 24-hour cycle, and that's our internal clock and our external clock. And so we need to have that in our body, which is why you advocate whether it be 16 hours, 18 hours, but it's one main meal a day. And then we have those foods, like you say, black coffee, green tea. You talk about having the blueberries and the berries to actually have those antioxidants, polyphenols, all those things that are going to complement the fast and not have your body in that chronic stress state for long periods of time, which I think you said is very, very important. It's time for another episode of Tyson's Fitness Tips. And today, since we're talking about intermittent fasting, I'm going to share with you some ways you can reduce your hunger. Now, I know a lot of you haven't actually had much experience with intermittent fasting, and you can find yourself having hunger cravings at night or during the day, and it's very, very hard to prevent them. But there are 3 really quick things that I want to share with you about how you can immediately kill those hunger cravings. Now, the first thing you want to focus on is that you can have sugar-free gum. And that's what I like to do after my meal. Whenever I feel like I'm going to have some type of hunger craving, I like to have the sugar-free gum because it gives you that cleanliness taste, kind of like when you finish brushing your teeth. And so when you have that taste, it actually prevents you from wanting to eat more and have hunger cravings. So if you find yourself ever having some type of craving, something as simple as having some sugar-free gum like extra is going to be perfect for you. Now, the second thing is having some type of tea. Now, Ori talks about how teas are very, very beneficial to help with the fasting period. So having something like a green tea, a black tea, or something along those lines is really, really helpful to not only prevent your hunger cravings, but also to increase and help with your fasting period. So you can add an additional benefit by drinking green tea, drinking black coffee, drinking herbal teas, any of those things that will promote you avoiding hunger and also just increasing your overall benefits of intermittent fasting. And the third thing is that you want to increase your fiber intake. So increasing fiber intake by taking something like a Metamucil, a natural supplement you can have like psyllium husk is what I like to have, or even better is that you just have some extra vegetables at a meal to really boost up those fiber. Any of those ways you can have any of those things, those 3 simple tips are going to be the best thing ever to help you kill those fat cravings, kill those hunger cravings, and more importantly, help you with your fasting. Now let's get back into the episode. Which I think you said is very, very important. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, Tyson. You said it right.
Excellent.
Look at this. When you know how to navigate in this area, in today's world, so yeah, the industry is still there and the vast majority of people still suffer, but you yourself, and the younger you are, the better it is, of course, will develop the skill to forever protect your body from accelerated aging and cancer, and of course, cardiovascular disease. This is very critical today. The threat of having cardiovascular disease, the threat of aging can affect young people. I have a chapter in my new book. It's called, it's all about whether aging is a disease or aging is a natural phenomenon, as they say. I try to prove, based on cutting-edge research, that aging is a stress-related condition. It's a stress-related disease, if you want. And if you become resilient to a stress properly, with the right regimen, you will become resilient to aging. Tyson, think about it. We were trained to think that aging is inevitable. Well, death is inevitable. Of course, we are all going to die one day. But the question is how? Do we have to die old? I strongly believe, and I believe I prove it in my book, at least give you doubt if we had to die old. I strongly believe that we don't have to die old. That if you do it, you can live long enough to die young. There is evidence in other organisms that natural selection spare organisms that become resilient to stress even at an older age. And the opposite, young people or young animal can become aged very quickly, very early. Aging of the insulin system, aging of the pancreas can happen to children.
And you're seeing that at the moment. You're seeing that.
Prematurely.
Like you said, aging prematurely with the young. You know, we used to call it adult onset diabetes, and we no longer call that anymore because young people are aging so quickly and, you know, becoming insulin resistant and things like that. And you're talking about this and you can see somebody who maybe they're young and they're overworked. You can physically see it on their body too, that they just don't look as young as they are. If someone told you, you know, oh, I'm 30 years old, and you're like, wow, I could have really thought you were 40 or 50. And it's because this is where you talk about that chronic, prolonged stress that people put themselves under, and they're doing themselves a detriment. And like you said, you don't have to... When people think old, there are so many people that think, once I'm 70, I'm going to be decrepit and I'm not going to be able to walk properly. But I see myself when I'm going to be 80, 90 years old, and I'm still going to be bouncing around, and, you know, I have a totally different sense of what old means compared to what a lot of people think old means.
Tyson, when you're going to be 80 or 90, I wish you to still be able to get laid, and natural selection will keep you around. Believe me, every biologist will tell you this. As long as you can procreate, as long as you can reproduce, natural selection will keep you around. Natural selection adores you, and it wants your genes to continue. It's that simple. It's a cruel rule, but it's true. So, question is, what happened to all those who already have a collateral damage? What happened to those who already obese or diabetic, type 2 diabetic, or even have degenerative disease, chronic inflammatory disease, or cancer?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to them? My answer is, it's never too late. The program to respond to stress and adapt is inherent to us.
Yep.
It's inherent to all organisms. Time is of the essence if you already have collateral damage, but it's never too late. Go and look at my books. I really show practical and the science how people, and I know personally people who manage to recover from cancer without even chemotherapy. I'm not suggesting, I'm not trying to treat it. I'm just saying there are ways to help reverse terrible condition because we are programmed for that. We are programmed to bounce back. There is no reason for inflammation to become chronic in your body, and there is no reason for cancer to cells to take over your body. Something went very wrong, and that something can, in many ways, be reversed. And a person who managed to defeat disease in many times becomes stronger than prior to that. When you look at what caused the problem, it's very banal. And that's what's so dangerous and frightening about it. Tyson, what caused the problem is the grocery list, is things that are trivial. You go to every home or every grocery, the first thing that people buy and always buy is sugar and flour and butter and this and that. Look at the shelf at your eye level. They are full of and over the counter sugary product. Look at the health product that you find today. Virtually all of them have this kind of default. They try to look like candies, they try to look like junk food, and in fact they are made from the same ingredient. But sometimes they have some protein inside, so they call high protein cookies. Sometimes they have protein in a pastry and they call it this and that. And when they remove the sugar, they don't really remove the sugar. They put chemicals instead and some sugar under disguise in the form of maltodextrin. I know the industry. It's extremely tricky and cruel. So, as a smart consumer, I would say smart consumer, as a smart person who want to better survive in this tricky world, check labels. Make sure that you avoid sugar. Sugar is in the core of the problem. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm telling you, I can't come too much, but I dedicated the past years to develop solution within this area. And probably the first natural sugar substitute that is not sugar, it's all based on botanical extract. It tastes like sugar, functions like sugar. Again, I'm not going to talk too much. Soon there will be some news about it. But I see solution in this area as critical. We humans, modern human, must find a way to conquer the junk food chain. Because people are emotionally addicted to this kind of food, some people are ready to kill you for a pizza or a pastry or the typical chocolate candy. They just can't give it up. So we must find a solution with this realm to help people eat stuff that is not less unhealthy, but completely healthy. I do not believe in partial solutions. I think that if you come with a product that you reduce the sugar but still keep it and allow people to eat more of this, you create even a worse problem, because now they eat a less natural product with chemicals, such diet soda. And 2 years ago, they already find the evidence that artificial sweetener cause more problem than sugar itself. Mm-hmm. They activate sweet gut receptor that overspike insulin, disrupt gut bacteria, give the body the signal to become diabetic and obese. Then there is sugar alcohol, so popular today. So besides causing trouble, digestive issues, bloating, which is very, and gut disformation issue, sugar alcohol apparently feed this methanoorganic archaea. It's much worse than bacteria. It's a microbe, anaerobic microbe that produces the methane gas, hence bloating, that it by itself not only toxic, it has been shown to promote obesity in animal studies. Why could we consume it? So I know sugar is evil, but the substitution of sugar today, the industry is not clever enough. So they did not manage to create anything viable. The consumer must be very careful. Not only with sugar, with fructose as well. Mm-hmm. We got serious problem. Now, why do I talk about sugar? Why do I talk about fructose? Why do I talk about all these morning cereal, fake health products, pastries, etc.? Because all this food promote and overactivate the mechanism, mTOR, the mechanism that causes us to age, drive aging, and cause cancer. Mm-hmm. That's simple. And the more you pump this mechanism in your body, cellular mechanism, the more prone you become to aging cancer.
So I'm not sure if you guys just caught that, but the reason Ori is talking about this is because when we have large doses of sugar and when we're consuming all these things, this actually activates a certain function in our body known as mTOR. And what mTOR does is, like Ori said, it increases... Can you just say that last bit again for us?
mTOR is a growth mechanism that paradoxically play a critical role when you're young. It helps you grow. It's a growth mechanism. Without a mTOR activation of mTOR, organism cannot even survive childhood. Offspring cannot grow. However, at a certain point of life, when you become an adult, and even as you're a child, you've got to be careful to not overactivate this mechanism, because overactivation of this growth mechanism causes age of cells and tissues and inflammatory disorders and cancer. And all this already happening to children, not just adults. Yet, as an adult, all that said, we've got to know how to switch from a children or young people diet to an adult diet.
Right.
Children can still benefit from growth promoting food because they live in a growing body.
Yep.
You as an adult, you live in a non-growing body. Overgrowth is unneeded for you. So when you put anabolic food, whether it's to overbuild your muscle, or because you like this kind of food and you overeat it, you are sentencing yourself for shorter life, inflammation, excessive weight gain, and premature death. That's what you do to yourself. And there is no way around it. There is no way that a person can consume excess of mTOR stimulating food and survive well. Unless you are the ultimate athlete that burn more calories that you consume. Even that can put you on chronic stress, by the way.
Yep.
Your situation is that you're living in a condition of excess energy. Chronic positive. It's the worst thing to be under. We never evolved to benefit from that kind of situation. So if you are once in a while in a situation that you're involved with extreme physical or mental stress, and you deplete your energy, once in a while it's okay to overeat, including some junk. Is it ideal? Never.
No.
But it's okay. But as a routine, it is detrimental.
Yep. And yep.
Look back. Our early food chain was not built on mTOR stimulating food. Quite the opposite, mTOR inhibiting food. I just mentioned the soft nutrient. I said the polyphenol for plants. I mentioned, Tyson, I don't know if you're aware, but for people try to be healthy today, health consumer, sometimes 30 up to 50%, up to 70% of the diet becoming liquid, coming from processed food, hence slim fast, drinking meals instead of eating meals, drinking processed powder instead of eating real food. I'm going to come soon with some blogs about it's critically important to understand that we never evolved for this. There are huge consequences for that. I don't know if you're aware of the fitness industry and the bodybuilding industry, how artificial, how unnatural it is. And ask yourself, what is the meaning of human fitness? Ask the typical fitness authority, what is the meaning of fitness? Is it performance? Is it scoring in the Olympics? No. Scientists already know there is a huge difference between biological fitness and what we call conventional fitness. Two different goals. Conventional fitness is about performance, it's about scoring. Hey, you want to win. You want to get a medal. You want to make some money when you do that. Biological fitness is about survival. It's about living longer and building a body that will better survive and, yes, longer live. Two completely different concepts. The typical athlete today, I show in my book massive research about how incredibly competitive athletes, especially endurance athletes, end up dying like couch potatoes from similar reason. How can it be that the fittest among us die as the unfittest among us? It doesn't make sense when you think about the survival of the fittest rule of nature, but it does.
Because it's chronic overstress.
Correct. The regimen to score betray the criteria of biological fitness.
Right.
Each one of you, me, anyone, we are programmed to thrive if we improve our biological fitness. But if we do things, regardless of the size of the muscle, that contradict this principle, that make us biologically unfit, we are not going to live long in spite of the hard work and all the supposed to be special sport nutrition regimen. I am against the typical sport nutrition. Very few out there really know what they're doing. I'm against building oversized muscle for no reason if the price is living shorter life. In my book, I really clearly define the criteria of biological fitness and what does it mean and what kind of regimen need to be. And just finally, age is a factor. You cannot train when you are 60 years old like a 16 years old kid.
Yep.
You've got to be smarter than that. Yet, you can be 70 years old and still be more biologically fit than the typical 20 years old today. This is crazy. You can be, as you say, 90 years old or 80 years old, still get laid while your equivalent 20 years old is already impotent, cannot do it. And I'm not just talking about males. I'm talking about both genders.
I think you made a really important point there that I personally didn't even think about either is, what we look at fitness as, because we're always marketed to, these big bodybuilders and these endurance athletes and, Olympians. And yes, they have amazing feats, but that is anything you get into that specifically is not healthy. We look at these things as the pinnacle of health, but technically bodybuilding, where you go into incredibly low amounts of body fat and you have huge amounts of muscles, or you're an athlete who's continuously running for long periods of time, if it's marathon running or any of those things, when you get that professional in a sport, it's not necessarily for health anymore. You're stepping into another area. And so taking that step back to think about, okay, biologically, I don't need to be the most muscular person. Yes, you can still have lean muscle, but you don't need to be pumping weights every single day of your life and trying to continuously force feed yourself with huge amounts of food, because if you want the best quality and also quantity, longevity of life, like you said, we have to be thinking more about biologically fitness as opposed to just thinking about, okay, I want to look like the guy in the magazines who's ripped and jacked, or I want to be able to run 4 hours for 24 hours for ultra endurance and things like that. And I think it's a really good point you made, Ori. And yep, go for it.
And I couldn't say it better. I mean, this is very true, but the science is already behind it. Show that when you train, for example, while you fast, while you're on energy deficit, or while you're on nutrient that mimic fasting, the body is triggered to compensate with increased mitochondria, fast muscle fiber. This is a major factor of biological fitness. The higher the mitochondria concentration or density in your muscle, the more efficient you can utilize both carb and fat fuel, and the more resilient or tolerant to severe exercise you can be. So in a moment of truth, when you need to run for your life and do it more than 2 minutes, it is you who would outperform the typical bodybuilder, because his muscle do not have this mitochondrial density, despite the big size.
Yeah.
The big muscle type, the big bodybuilder muscle type, the type 2B, is a very strong yet inferior muscle fiber. It is built for very fast, up to 30-second, even not that sometimes, performance, and that's that. It's called fast glycolytic. That means it's addicted and depend on sugar only, can hardly utilize fat fuel, and that is the liability. The size of the muscle is secondary. Tyson, you look at you're lean. If you develop muscle with high mitochondrial density, it doesn't show when you are dressed, but it mimics the body composition that your species, the human species, was supposed to have and was having during extreme primordial time, when evolution gave us this advantage of building such superior muscle. I wrote about it before. It's called the supermuscle fiber, the type 2X. But call it whatever it is, the phenomenon that the myosin heavy chain gene can convert the type 2B to type 2AX already, and not the other one, unless you injure yourself. Show you that there is an evolutionary trend towards improvement, and it's never toward the size of the muscle, but the quality of the muscle fiber. So here it is, why bodybuilders need to eat 6 to sometimes more meals per day, constantly pump protein and calories to oversize the muscle. The true biological fitness show a total different direction, a direction of combined nutritional and physical stress, signal your body and the muscular system and the muscle gene to improve the muscle fiber quality rather than enlarge it. Huge difference when it's coming to your fitness. Finally, it's the muscular system that is the largest energy consumer in your body and utilizer. So when you have muscle composition that predominantly high in mitochondria and can utilize fat fuel, not only carb fuel, you will live longer, because this is critical for your longevity. The shift from carb to fat fuel is a classical, fundamental biological shift towards longevity.
And that's what happens when we're doing fasting. That's correct, right? After a certain period of time, our glycogen stores are depleted, and then and the body will change from going from a carb burner, sugar burner, to a fat burner.
Yes, and you want to have a muscular system that is adept to that kind of a shift. I'm really afraid that if you build artificially a body that is only carb dependent, that shift will be very difficult, if not impossible.
Yeah. Ori, I think you've gone over a lot of stuff today, and it's gone very, very deep, and I love to leave people with practical takeaway information. And so I kind of want to do a little bit of a sum up here after what we've talked about today. I want to kind of explain it, and then if you feel like I misrepresented anything or you want to add on to it, I would love to be able to hear from it. But basically what we've gone over today is you talk about, first of all, doing longer periods of fasting not only increases your longevity, but also increases the quality of your life, right? And because we're not always in that every couple of hours we're eating sugary foods, our insulin is not rising all the time, which means our body internally is going to be be more benefited, and it's also going to be able to live longer. Like you said, it's not just outside of the body aging, it's also inside of the body aging. So then we also thought about, you said our body needs to go from fat burning to carb burning, and we can do this by exercising on an empty stomach some days, and then some days we exercise whether we have food in our stomach or not, to show the body that it can be adaptable between being a sugar burner and being a fat burner. And the more efficient we are at that, the more the easier the body can switch over, the better it's going to be beneficial for us. And then you also talked about, during the fasting period, we can have certain foods that are going to benefit us, that are going to help with that stress period. So it would be things like black coffee, it would be things like green tea. You talk about having berries, and we also don't want to be in long periods of chronic stress. So instead of doing long periods of fasting, we want to think about doing it intermittently. So this can be, like you said, having one meal a day if you want to follow more of the warrior type approach, or even if you are doing that 18, 16 hours, whatever it is, but on a daily basis, you need to be consuming food to be in a line with your biological clock and the circadian rhythms. And that's what I think the greatest thing about this is, you said if you start to follow some type of fasting and you start to reduce your calories, and your body can, instead of having to focus all the time on metabolizing food, can start to do things like autophagy, which gets rid of bad cells in your body, you're going to have a better quality of life, you're going to live longer, and more importantly, you're probably going to get laid when you're 80 and not be decrepit. Is that pretty much what we summed up talking about today?
Yes, that's pretty much. You did it very well in a very understood language. Yeah, I agree. It is. I can say it very simple. For the average person, eat less frequently, fast more, and eat food rich in nutrient that mimic eating less and fasting more.
Okay, that summed it up way better than what I did.
The list is in my book again. The book is called The 7 Principles of Stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's available in Amazon and by North Atlantic Books. And people want to learn more details about my concept or striving in today's world can go to my Facebook.
Yep.
Those who listen to you or live in the US, I'm gonna discuss my book on January 25th at the Lafayette Library. Let me just give the name exactly. The Lafayette Library and Learning Center at 7 p.m. on January 26th.
Yep.
I'm gonna sign book at the Book Passage. It's a bookstore and cafe at 1 p.m. More details again will be at my Facebook. Really enjoyed this conversation, Tyson.
Ori, this was great. I really appreciate you coming on today. Guys, everything we talked about today, all of Ori's books, you can go on the website in the show notes. You're going to be able to get them all there. I highly recommend you pick up the Warrior Diet and his new book, The 7 Principles of Stress, How You Can Extend Life, Stay Fit, and Ward Off Fat. Because honestly, these two books, it just dives deeper into what we've talked about today and how you can apply good stress into your life that's going to help you live longer, feel better, and more importantly, it's going to help you become aware of what certain things are happening in our body, because we're just touching on the surface here, but Ori goes deeper into this side of things in the actual book. So if you go on the show notes, you can have a look all there. I've got Ori's website, I've got his Facebook, I've got where you can buy the book, everything you need from what we've talked about today. So Ori, once again, thank you so much for coming on. We have to do a part 2 because this was bloody awesome, and yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. We'll be in touch, Tyson.
Excellent. Guys, that is another episode done and dusted. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and until next time, speak to you then. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Now, I've got a special gift for you. If you want to learn how I managed to lose 10 kilos and keep it off, then I've got the perfect treat for you. I've got a free intermittent fasting cheat sheet that I share on my website that shows you exactly how to diet effortlessly with intermittent fasting and fit it into your busy lifestyle. And more importantly, this is the exact guide that I follow every single day that allowed me to lose 10 kilos of body fat and keep it off 4 years later. So head on over to www.tysonbrown.com.au and pick up your free cheat sheet today and learn how to fit intermittent fasting into your life and diet effortlessly. Once again, that's www.tysonbrown.com.au. Opt in for the free cheat sheet and I'm going to send it straight to your inbox for free. Until next time, speak to you guys then.